So let me just set the scene for you. I was 34, working as a marketing manager in the Midwest, and I was 6 years into what I honestly thought was a pretty solid, comfortable marriage. I can still remember the exact moment my entire world just shifted. It started off like any other night, you know? I was tired from a long day, just hoping for a little bit of connection. But what I got instead? Well, it was a final declaration that changed absolutely everything. Those 4 words, not tonight or any night. He said them with this coldness, this finality that just sucked all the air out of the room. I mean, what do you even say to that? 1 minute, you're leaning in to kiss your husband, and the next, the person you've built your life with tells you that an entire part of your relationship is just over, gone. My brain just went completely blank. I was in total shock.
My husband, Jesse, and we really had what I thought was a good thing going. We met back in college, dated for years, even bought a house out in the suburbs. You know the story. We were both super focused on our careers, him in HR, me in marketing. We had a normal life, or at least that's what it looked like from my side. But that night, he pulled back the curtain on a completely different reality.
And the disconnect between how we saw things? I mean, look at this. It was just staggering. In my mind, we were partners, building a life together. But from his perspective, it turns out our marriage was just a convenient social arrangement. I wasn't his partner, I was a contributor to the bills. And our intimacy? To him, it was just a performance he was no longer willing to give. His explanation felt so clinical. He told me he'd been spending a ton of time on these online forums all about self-mastery and this idea of modern celibacy. He said he just wasn't interested in physical intimacy anymore. Not with me, not with any woman. He wasn't breaking up with me, oh no, he was just setting a boundary with his body, and I could either take it or leave it. And this is the line that just knocked the wind out of me. I tried to talk about it, obviously. I wanted to understand. I mean, this is a marriage, right? We're supposed to talk. But he completely turned it on me. All of a sudden, wanting to have a conversation about the end of physical intimacy in my own marriage made me entitled. He was using this therapeutic language to basically just shut me down. The days after that were just weird as hell. We were basically roommates who shared a mortgage. He refused to even consider counseling, saying there was nothing wrong with him. Every time I tried to connect, he twisted around to make me sound like I was somehow oppressing him. It honestly felt like I was living with a complete stranger who just happened to be wearing my husband's face. So, the real turning point came maybe 2 weeks later. I was sitting in my car, right in our driveway, and I just could not bring myself to go inside. The thought of another night of that cold, polite silence, it was just crushing. And right there, in that moment, I realized I had a choice. I could stay in this emotional desert and just completely wither away, or I could find a new path. And that's when a plan started to bubble up. It was like, okay, if he emotionally checked out of our marriage without actually leaving, then maybe I could do the same thing. This wasn't about getting revenge. This was about survival. It was about taking all the energy I'd been pouring into him and redirecting it right back to myself. My little playbook started small. Step 1, reclaim my mornings. I started setting my alarm for 5:30 a.m., which, yeah, felt absolutely insane at first. But it created this sacred, quiet time that was all mine. Before the sun was even up, I was meditating, doing some exercises, just existing in a space that he couldn't touch. By the time he woke up, I'd already started my day feeling centered and, honestly, kind of armored against his whole vibe. And from there, the whole redirection thing just expanded. Instead of rushing home to that awful silence, I started hitting the gym after work, turning all that anxiety into strength. I began calling up old friends, the ones you kind of lose touch with, and rebuilt a social life that was just mine, where I was just me, not half of a couple. I bought new clothes, not for him, but because it felt good to see a new, confident person in the mirror. And this was a big one. I opened my own private investment account. It was this tangible step towards my own future, a secret safety net. And finally, I dug out my old camera and rediscovered my love for photography. Every click of that shutter felt like I was taking a piece of myself back. Okay, and this is where it starts to get really interesting, because as I poured all this energy back into myself, my whole life just started to blossom. I was sleeping better, I looked better, and my work performance, it just soared. I was becoming the stronger, more confident version of myself, and the real irony is, he's the one who pushed me to do it.
Hearing this from my boss meant more than it probably should have. But after months of feeling so invisible and unwanted at home, getting that kind of validation at work, it was like a lifeline. It filled this huge void I didn't even realize was there, and it just gave me more fuel to keep going, to keep building this new life.
Oh, Jesse noticed the changes for sure, but he wasn't supportive. Not at all. He was critical. He'd make these little passive-aggressive comments. My new shirt was a little tight. My photography hobby had midlife crisis energy. It became so obvious that my happiness, when it wasn't centered on him, was a threat.
The whole dynamic just shifted completely. As I was building my own world, his suspicion and his entitlement just grew and grew. I started getting serious about photography, and his reaction was, "Since when are you into that?" I had to travel for a big promotion he didn't even know about, and he immediately accused me of seeing someone else. He could feel the center of gravity in our house shifting away from him, and believe me, he did not like it one bit.
I wasn't just building a new life anymore. I was building an exit strategy. I started routing my bonuses and part of my new, bigger salary into that private account. And then, when I heard through the grapevine at work that his company was talking about layoffs, I knew I had to get ready. I quietly met with a lawyer, paid for it out of my secret fund, and got all my ducks in a row.
And then it happened. He came home one day, he'd been laid off, and he was clearly expecting me to just fall back into that old role of the comforting, supportive wife. But that person just wasn't there anymore. I was polite, but my question was practical, totally detached. "What's your plan?" The look of shock on his face said everything. He expected me to fix it. Instead, he got a boundary.
The very next morning, I made my move. I transferred my money, packed my most important things, and when he came downstairs, I just handed him a folder with the divorce papers. I told him I was done. I told him I deserved a real partnership, one built on mutual respect, not one-sided rules.
He tried to make it all about sex, of course. But I shut that down right away. This was never about his boundary. It was about the fact that he expected to be able to remove a fundamental part of a partnership, connection, while still getting all the benefits of a marriage, like financial stability and a social life. That's not a partnership. That's a transaction.
Moving out honestly felt like taking my first real breath in months. We sold the house, and I moved into this small apartment that was just mine. No emotional landmines to navigate, no one else's mood to manage. That first night I slept there, with all the city lights pouring in, the feeling wasn't sadness. It was this deep, physical sense of relief.
A few weeks after that, I met Jack. It was funny. We'd seen each other at a gallery opening, and then we literally ran into each other on a hiking trail at sunrise. We just talked for hours about photography, about patience, about finding the right light. There was no drama, no games, no rush. It was just calm and grounded. He didn't fix me. I had already started doing that work for myself. He just met me where I had finally learned to stand on my own.
And my life just kept getting bigger and better. I got another promotion at work, and my photography, wow, it became way more than a hobby. I had my very first solo exhibition. I called it Reclaimed Light. It's really incredible what happens when you stop pouring all of your energy into a black hole. That power, it doesn't just disappear. It comes right back to you, tenfold.
This was actually the caption I put on the main photo at my exhibition. And it really just says it all, you know? What felt like a door slamming shut forever, not tonight or any night, was really just another door opening. It was not an easy path, not at all, but it led me out of that darkness and into a life that I built for myself, piece by piece. And I think that's the ultimate lesson here. Jesse taught me what emptiness felt like, but I taught myself what fullness felt like. The goal was never about making him regret anything. The goal was to build a life so full of light and passion and self-respect that his opinion just became completely and totally irrelevant.